everybody, my name's Paula. Welcome back to Rise and Repeat. I haven't made a video in a hot second, but I want to make one that bridges the gap between the coaching that I do now, and if you're interested in that, check out the links that I put in the description below. It goes right to the page. It's all about my program, as well as the blog that I have, which you'll see a lot of similar subjects as you do on this YouTube channel, mainly polyamory. I also got a little bit into making videos about codependency, and I'm going to continue along the lines of just talking about well-being, health, as well as relationships and boundaries in relationships, and a bit of other things as we go along here. But today's video is all about bridging the gap between the polyamory videos that I used to solely focus on, as well as I used to just focus on that on my blog as well. And to this day, I don't have a lot of blog posts, I don't have a lot of videos, but the ones that I did post, I'm still getting people messaging me about those things, reading my blog posts, coming back to it, and I need to just spill the beans on where I'm at with my own polyamorous journey. To sum it up really simply, I'm not polyamorous anymore. Does this mean I'm going to take my videos down? No, not at all. Because the biggest reason is that I still think polyamory is freaking awesome. I'm not capable at it at this point in my life. So this will be a bit of a story time. Something I'm going to be, it'll feel really good to tell this story, to just tell you guys where I'm at, to feel like I'm not hiding anything, because I think that was a big reason why I didn't come back to this YouTube channel, was because I was like, how can I possibly keep these poly videos up when I'm not practicing the lifestyle right now? But the thing is, I did practice it for 3 years. Actively, I had another partner for 2 years. So, you know, I did experience the lifestyle. I'm still really fascinated by it. My partner is polyamorous still, and I'm choosing not to be. So, let's get into that. Polyamory to me is amazing, like something that really holds true to my personal love philosophy. I think that it's kind of, it's love unbarred, love unrestricted. I think that at their heart, I think that polyamory reflects the way that humans naturally love. Not to say that everyone is secretly polyamorous or that monogamous is shitty. But instead, it's like being able to love more than one person without feeling restricted by the amount of love you have to give, or the feeling that someone else is going to be cut off from love because you love someone else, or that the heart can't give true love to more than one person. I love that polyamory does not believe in those lies, because I do believe that they're lies. I think all of those things are extremely possible. And you don't have to be polyamorous to experience them. And so, for me, polyamory has left me a little bit scarred. And that's not because of the lifestyle. That's because, obviously, my specific experience with my specific partner. So, I'm taking time off, and instead of gardening a relationship with another person, right now my other primary relationship is my business. It is the coaching that, I've been watering that for the past couple of years. So right now I have a primary partner who is polyamorous still. Obviously, I mean, personally, he's not practicing it. Even if I was interested in the poly lifestyle really actively right now, I wouldn't be pursuing it either, because, COVID times. I know that some of you guys are brave enough to date. I'm just not. So he is still practicing that. For me, though, it's really, I see polyamory as swift to change as humans are to change. So polyamory comes into my life when it's the season for it, when there's a reason for it, and frankly, when I have friggin' time for it. My first experience of polyamory, let me talk about that now. My 2-year relationship. I didn't know it at the time, because I didn't have a point of reference. And for me, this whole pandemic thing, the pandemic destroyed my industries that I used to work in, tourism and the service industry. Both of those were gone. obviously. And they still are. I live in Canada and we're suffering from the third wave right now. We're doing worse than America even right now. So everything became so quiet this year. I also broke up with my secondary partner, and I use that word on purpose. I wish I wasn't, but I am. But I broke up with that relationship. It ended kind of when the pandemic was just starting to blow up around the world. So I was over in Bali. The relationship ended with a phone call. It was heated. It was not nice. It was not ideal. It came from a place of pure exhaustion in my heart. I was so tired of so many things. So I don't want to get into super personal details because obviously relationship drama has to do with another person who I don't have consent over to give his story. But here's the reasons where, in the peace that came from the quiet that the pandemic kind of left in its wake for my personal experience, I did not realize how I was so relationally exhausted, like on a cellular level, from nurturing that relationship as well as a few other ones in my life, which also, for the record, have also come to an end. So, my secondary partner, we were connected from a wound. This is me giving my version of the story. I'm sure he has a slightly different one, or maybe not, but this is mine. It was completely from a wound. It was my savior complex on fleek. I think his as well. We would clash a lot over our attempts to try to save each other and be right. So I was always performing in that relationship. It was really odd. It was just like taking off a mask and putting a new one on. I was juggling so much socially when I was seeing him. With my primary partner, who I still have today, he's been on the channel. His name's Owen. You can go back and see him. He visits my Instagram a lot. If you guys don't follow me on Instagram, that's actually where I'm the most active, but I'm going to come back to YouTube as well. But with Owen, I feel like I'm not wearing a mask. And that's great and that's healthy. With my other partner, I was performing to the nines. Like, there were so many little things that were just, now looking back, big red flags of discomfort in me. First of all, couldn't be myself in terms of showing my full range of emotion, in terms of speaking my truth. I had a lot of opinions about him that got so kind of stuck in my throat because I knew that if I said my truth in the way that I like to say my truth would really hurt him. And I'm not saying that because I was assuming, I'm saying that because I did it a few times and it didn't end well. So, I couldn't speak freely, I couldn't fully be myself, and I internalized it. There were just little things, like I didn't like showing up wearing clothes that weren't sexy, or some kind of version of that. It was just a lot of freaking performance, which I now vow to never put my brain, my emotions, or my body through ever again for anyone in the future. So it was a mind trip to have like one healthy foundational relationship and then see myself also attached to like performing for another person, because you would think like, oh, aren't I healed, so shouldn't every relationship be healthy now? No. Turns out you can be more than one person at one time. And it is a mind trip, and it's a place, looking back, it's a place for massive amounts of self-compassion. If any of you guys are finding this existing in your own dynamics, especially if you have multiple partners, don't be surprised. Don't beat yourself up. Humans have a massive capacity to be simultaneous beings all at once, to feel so many things, to be like completely stripped down to your wound and be pouring salt in that attachment wound, while also being very, very healthy and secure with another person right over here, like it's day or night. And I'm sure, I am so sure that if my secondary partner was to tell the story of what it was like to be with me, he would paint a totally different picture of like what my primary partner, Owen, would paint. And that's just the reality of it. That's okay. And also, I don't want to repeat it. So I said before that he truly felt like a secondary partner to me. And it was the same for my experience in his life. Because we each had primaries. We each had our deep foundational relationships. And a lot of the time I think we tried to logic ourselves out of the fact that we just didn't have enough time, real logistical space for each other in each other's lives. Like, it was so much work to just find space and time to be together and not feel like it was infringing on the other partners in our lives. A lot of the time, like 90% of the time, our dates had to be in public places. Privacy wasn't just not there because we lived with our primary partners. And I didn't have the experience of kitchen table polyamory. If you guys don't know what that is, that's easily my most popular video in my humble little channel. Kitchen table is where everyone is so chummy, basically, that you guys can all like hang out with each other. That sounds nice. I will be the first to say I was the one in my relationships to stop that kind of bonding because I found it super fucking uncomfortable and I didn't want it. So I was kind of the wedge that kept everyone more parallel polyamory style. And it just wasn't working. So I didn't want to go full kitchen table, which, yes, the comfort levels, maybe they could have changed, but again, this is so hypothetical. The thing was, I was not comfortable enough with this person, with my secondary partner, to have ever really been able to emotionally graduate to like including him in my life in any other way where he would be more to me than a secondary person. And that gives me, guilt to a certain extent, because I think we would often be caught in the trap of kind of lying to each other, saying like, yeah, we can really make this work. We can make each other feel like all of the partners are on an equal playing field, when it was just a lie. It just logistically didn't work. Time-wise didn't work. Emotional energy required to make those shifts in our lives? No. And frankly, this is the biggest thing for me. The emotions to hold the relationship together were not there for me. So we were radically on different pages. It was extremely exhausting to kind of hold up the facade of trying to make a relationship that just wasn't the fantasy it wanted to be that. And I trip myself out all the time with how effectively I'm able to perform for other people when I am told that they want to have me in their life in a certain way, and I'm just not feeling it. So I steamrolled over my own desire in that relationship for a very, very long time. The one question I failed to ask myself was, do I want to be here? I think I made a video on this a few months ago. That is a massive question that we don't often ask ourselves, especially if you are like me and have extreme tendencies to drop into the people-pleasing way of being. If you are a rampant people pleaser, please stop and ask yourself the question of, do I want to be here, meaning in the relationship, more often? If I had really slowed down and asked myself that question, I think a lot of the arguments, a lot of the let's logic our way into continuing this relationship, a lot of those moments would have stopped between me and my then secondary partner. And yeah, it would have hurt to face the truth, but guess what? It hurt to face it 2 years in, it would hurt to face that 6 months in, it would hurt even more, it just it sucks no matter what to realize that the emotions just aren't there. But that was the truth of it. That was really the truth of it. The performance I was giving only was so exhausting because I was making up for a lot of emotions that were just fucking absent. So let that be a lesson. If that's going on with you, like a lot of different red flags, I would still get nervous before a date with him. 2 years-ish in, not in a good way, in a way where it was like, oh God, I have to put on that mask again. It was really draining. It was really draining on so many levels for me, and it was again, it's like I imagine a massive mind fuck for him now, looking back. I sincerely hope he never watches these videos. Because, yeah, the amount of truth that did not exist in that relationship is what hurts the most. It was really, really, for me, in my perspective right now, this is about a year out from the relationship, it was just like an amazingly intricate web of lies. Luckily, there wasn't a lot riding on it besides our own personal emotions. There was no kids involved, there were no financial ties, nothing like that, but not to side sweep it, but yeah, there was a lot of just these little subtle people pleasy lies, a lot of loving from the wound. So, my experience with polyamory was valuable. I learned a lot about myself, like a lot, and that's why I do want to keep the videos up. So, I hope that they don't seem disingenuous now that I'm not actively pursuing the lifestyle. But I really do sense that I'll probably go back to it. For my future, I do see more travel once the world opens back up. I want to live in a few different places. I've always kind of had this idea that I want not a whole lot of partners, maybe 2, but I would really like for that to be, just people that I can include in a really wholehearted way in my life and not feel pulled around. So, in some ways, like, polyamory still does exist on my heart. I just know now how to be so much more careful with it and to really, like, even further lower my expectations for it. I think I got caught up in the glamour of what it could be walking into this the first time, so I'm glad that I learned what I learned. I'm glad that I now know so fucking clearly what it means to love from my wound, what it feels like on a body level to know when I'm people pleasing, to know that that nervous feeling is indeed for me a red flag. I know how to slow down. I know how to ask myself, like, hey, do I want to be here? Is there a reason that making the minimal effort with this human feels like a lot of work? I know what those signals mean now. I feel like I'm a lot more grounded. And I know what my priorities are, which is that it's my business, my clients, and nurturing myself in a lot of ways. I hadn't said yes to myself and my dreams, but I was saying yes to a lot of disingenuous relationships. So you can see where one thing was kind of replacing another. I was using one thing to avoid another, and that's not a healthy foundation. Had I known I was doing it, of course I would have backed away. 100 million%. Polyamory is full of fucking errors. But you know what? So is monogamy. And you know what? So are friendships. And so are families. So is humaning. Humaning is about mistakes. It doesn't mean you should just brush it under the rug. My intention here is to take as much responsibility as I can for where I massively fucked up in this past relationship that I had in my polyamorous experience, without giving away personal information. But yeah, I was a liar. I lied to my heart. I lied to another human. I lied massively across the board to make that relationship work. It was literally a web of lies. So, needless to say, I'm taking a freaking break. I am in the middle of a break. It is a break that feels really good. It feels really friggin' necessary because I have no conscious intention to do this again at all. I want to take my next relationship so much slower. I know where to look for signs of health and signs of not so healthy in myself and my partner, because the thing is, for any of you guys who are experiencing this or thinking of experiencing this in your polyamorous adventures, if you are getting together with someone who already has a relationship as their foundation, they already got their primary person, maybe if you're a non-hierarchy type of speaker about relationships, they've already got a person, just really take your time. Really take your time to meet that person if your heart can stand it, please. A big red flag that I'll never have repeated again is that my secondary partner, his partner, did not want to meet me. Did not really want to know I existed. For myself personally, that's not a vibe I want to have again. I don't need to be chummy, but I do need to know that the act of me being with this in-between person is not going to absolutely break the heart and soul of a metamor. So, I want to know that everyone can stand on their feet and say, yes, I am in this lifestyle, or I can actively acknowledge that my partner's in this lifestyle. No denying, no hiding on, it was heartbreaking looking back on it now. A lot of fragility, a lot of emotions that just were so raw, and it was like every time I existed in their lives, it just poured salt on the wound for one or both of them, because that foundational relationship was not in a good place. Please, for the love of God, don't be that person who fills in the cracks in somebody else's damaged foundational relationship, because it felt like shit for me too. And I think I'm still just realizing all the ways in which, like, I was used as, like, mortar to hold those two separate bricks together that were my secondary partner and his partner. And that's just not nice. This is what I mean, loving from a wound. It makes people into objects or into, like, tools to use to fix other broken things. And that's just not, you're not in a place to see two people as human beings. So, if this is you, if you can totally look at foundational relationships that exist in your polycule, and you can 100%, like, you'll know when it feels good, right? Like, we'll know when talking about other people we're involved with, either on a friendship level or a romantic or a sexual level. We know when it feels good. We know that the feeling of grounding feels good in our bodies. If you don't know that, this is where I coach people. But go off that feeling. You'll know when it's a wholehearted yes. Or you'll know where there's space to be worked on. Or you'll know when it's like, oh my god, I've been in total denial. Maybe I need to speak my truth. Maybe I need to take a step back. So, here's to going forward. I want to keep all my videos up, unless I get a whole lot of feedback saying, like, oh my god, this is, you're not the person I want to learn poly from. I'm open to feedback, for sure. But I do see it probably coming back on the menu of my life later, once my own kind of creative foundation, my own relationship with my own heart and soul is feeling a lot more unified, a lot stronger. Again, it's so much easier to love when you give yourself the space to know yourself. So, I find it easy to get to know myself when I'm with my primary partner. But for me, the experience of learning to love a new person at the same time is a little overwhelming. Some people are smoother at that. I'm jealous of you guys. And I hope that I get there soon. And I hope that anyone else who struggles with that also can experience that level of healing. So, but my intention is to keep the videos up. My intention is to make more videos about the stuff that I teach in my coaching practice, which for anyone who may be interested, I'll be plugging myself a lot more, obviously, but I help people who suffer from childhood PTSD, complex PTSD, people with intense, brutal inner critic voices, and any adult with repressed emotions or really explosive, volatile emotions. All of these things come from complex PTSD, and I definitely am in the business of helping people who are polyamorous, so I keep my business poly-friendly. I'm super into non-monogamy in all forms. If you're having trouble finding a therapist or a coach who can help you with this kind of area, just know it's in my past, it's in my present too, because as I said, my partner is still accepting this lifestyle for himself. So that is definitely something that's very open for you guys to consider. The link will be down below to a page that tells you all about my program, but it's all about healing those parts of you, learning to feel relief and joy in a body that probably in your experience is full of anxious alarm bells from the minute you wake up to the minute you go to sleep at night. So if that's you, If you actually want relief, not from a mental health professional, but from a survivor, that's me, then this program might be for you. I use the somatic modalities. This means getting into the body, so giving you other options other than verbal processing to understand where your emotions are coming from and what kind of things kick them up. And polyamorous relationships are a massive source of triggers. That's why a lot of us are attracted to it. It's very stimulating. It's very friggin' challenging, and it's a hard-hitting dose of emotional truth. So if you're into really intense truth-seeking, I think you might really enjoy this kind of coaching I'm doing if you are interested in it. But if not, please stay around just for the different videos I'll make if you're just here to interact with different topics about relationships. That's what I'm here for. If you guys have specific topics, would love to cater directly to you. And I'm still really interested in making videos about polyamory and about relationships in general, and just about the ways emotions get in the way of healthfully connecting. So if you guys want to hear that from me, I'm really down to talk about it. And just let me know if it would feel, a little bit weird to hear about polyamory from someone who's not actively practicing. But I'm still super open to take questions about that lifestyle. I'm here for all of it, basically. I'm also, like, right now, I guess I didn't actually say what I'm actually practicing. I'm more or less monogamous, I suppose. Although since my partner is open, I guess we would be more categorized as just an open relationship. Yeah, so I don't pedestal any one relational structure above another. I think monogamy is also completely excellent and really challenging when it's done consciously. Non-monogamy is obviously just covers so many different structures. So anything and everything. I'm open to all of it. Drop a comment below. Hit subscribe if you haven't subscribed already. And I'll be back here. I would love to do like 2 videos a week for you guys. So I'll see you again.